y'all doing today? That's what Dr. Now says when you enter his office, weighing 6, 7, 800 pounds. How do you think they're doing today when they hobble into his office weighing 6, 7, 800 pounds?
So if you don't eat, you're gonna be all right. At your weight, body got the reserve that you don't eat anything for a week or two. You're not gonna have anything gonna happen.
He tells people that are coming to him how to get ready to maybe have gastric bypass. So he puts them on his diet for a period of months because he wants them to get used to eating closer to the way they're going to eat once they have this smaller stomach. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. Curious how you think about it too, but here's what he has you do. You come in, of course, you've been eating enough to weigh 6, 7, 800 pounds, right? So these people have been eating 10,000 calories a day, 15,000 calories a day, something like that, a lot. First thing he says is we're going to go to 1,200 calories a day. You can eat 2 600-calorie meals or 3 400-calorie meals. Basic math, folks. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to respond to this is because people will do my program, and early in the program, it's just 3 weeks long, and a week into it, they're concerned, am I eating enough? Am I eating enough? And usually they're eating 800 to 1,200 calories. And most people that are doing that weigh between 175 and 225 pounds. Now, I got some that weigh 400 pounds, but usually it's 175 to 225, and they're wondering if going to 8 to 1,200 calories, if they're hurting themselves to do that, maybe for as long as 3 weeks. Dr. Now has somebody that weighs 800 pounds drop down to 1,200 calories. Dr. Now, y'all know who he is? I figured everybody knows who Dr. Now is. Have you never seen the 600-Pound Life? He's got a big, long name, and they've just kind of nicknamed him Dr. Now. You can see his picture in my what do you call it? Thumbnail. So, part of what I want people to see is what he does. And I was watching one of his shows, and there was a lady in the hospital, and she's trying to get well enough, strong enough, lose some weight, get her mindset so she can do this surgery. And he's talking to her, and she's complaining about the food that the hospital's serving her. She said, I don't eat that kind of meat. He said, that's okay. She's like, what do you mean? She said, I have to eat something. He said, no. He said, you've eaten the food that belonged to the next 4 years ahead of time. And I think that's important to see. When he has somebody that's way, way beyond morbid obesity, they call it class 3 obesity, he has him to make this drastic change that looks crazy. And I always want people to see what's the difference. When you say that's crazy, you got to look at what you used to do and recognize that was crazy and not be as concerned about this crazy as what you used to do. So how can a 600-pound person start eating like a 100-pound person? They see that they're about to die. You've got to see where you were as it was critical. It was bad, or you're not going to be willing to change in a way that they changed here. So one of the concerns people have, and if you read this article, just came across my feed the other day. There's plenty of articles on it, but in this one, it emphasized the risks of his diet. What happens when you come off of his diet? And make sure you don't do this more than 1, 2, or 3 months, whatever it is. He usually has people doing it 2 or 3 months and expects them to lose about a pound a day while they're doing this. But the emphasis in this article was, well, what's going to happen when you stop doing that? And it reminds me of somebody that maybe weighs 300 pounds and they get sick. And they lose 30 pounds quickly when they got sick. And everybody thinks, oh, well, they're just going to gain it back. And I'm like, probably, but shouldn't. If you're overweight, regardless what happens to draw your weight down, you do Dr. Now, you drop down to 300 calories a day, you got sick, you were in the hospital, you had an accident, you couldn't eat, for whatever reason, you couldn't eat, and then you get to eat again. Why in the world, if you were overweight, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, and you lost some weight while you were sick, why in the world would you expect to gain that weight back when the only reason you gained it in the first place was because of excessive eating? So everybody's concerned, oh, you do this Dr. Now diet where you're just eating 1,200 calories, you're just going to gain it all back. Not if you don't go back to excessive eating. You've got to get in your head that what I was doing before was excessive. When you listen to Dr. Now, he's going to tell you you're a walking food bank. You've eaten food that belonged in the future. You've eaten it ahead of time. But then what I hear people complain about is, well, my blood sugar may go too low. I remember I was working with a guy one time when I was in the insurance business, and we were driving around, and at the end of the day after working, he went into a gas station and got him a Snicker bar and a bottle of Coke. And I said, I don't remember what I said. I just remember he said, yeah, I need to get me something. My blood sugar gets too low. That's interesting. Your reason for getting a big old Coke and a Snickers bar is for health reasons. And that's what we use that as an excuse. And I remember I was working with one guy. He was a diabetic. He said, Joe, I wake up at night and my blood sugar's whacked out. And my wife goes and gets me a one of these Haagen-Dazs bars to regulate my blood sugar, sometimes two. Really? Guys, we use the wrong reasons to eat what we eat. Or I have people say, I had to eat something. I felt like I was going to pass out. You know what my response is? Sit on the couch. Put some pillows around you so you pass out. It's better than staying 300 pounds. Allow yourself to pass out. You're going to have to push through some discomfort, some blood sugar swings. I'm not saying go into insulin shock. What I'm saying is we use excuses to keep eating. As some of you have not read my book yet, and if you enjoy this content, if you think, I think Joe's onto something here, and you really want to go and dig and get to the root of all this stuff, it's just really difficult to cover everything that you can cover in a book. So there's a link in the description if you'd like to get the book. It comes through Amazon. Oh yeah, it has my food list in there. A lot of people just love the idea of simplifying this, and they're just like, can you just tell me what to eat? So in the book, you will find my food list. So when people are concerned, here's what I want to challenge you to do. Instead of being overly concerned with, am I eating enough, my blood sugar, take that concern and move it over to, how have you been living? You've been living in such a way to when you feel like you need to eat, you eat. Instead, take the concern you have that you're not going to eat enough, that you're going to get sick, that you're going to pass out, that your blood sugar, and apply it over here to when you know you've probably had enough to eat, but you want to eat more. Embrace the hunger. You're a walking food bank. You have enough food on your body that you don't need to eat anything for months. Am I telling you to starve to death? No. Am I telling you to be malnourished? No. Am I telling you not to eat enough to be healthy? No. What I'm saying is after you've had a meal, a moderate meal, and you feel like you need some potato chips or a cookie or a piece of dessert or a glass of wine, that's what I'm talking about. Do you need that? Of course you don't need it. The last thing you need is enough. You need to go less than enough and embrace the hunger to get the life change that you've been wanting for a long time. You can do it. I'm Trainer Joe. Train your brain and transform your body.